All right, guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to breaking news. President Biden endorses VIP Harris after withdrawing from 2024. Let's jump in.
President Biden is now endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the nominee of the Democratic Party this year. I want to read now what the president says himself. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, he reiterates he's decided not to accept the nomination and to focus his energies on his duties as president for the remainder of his term. He goes on to say that his first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president. He says, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, he says, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. He concludes by saying, and again, this is President Biden saying, Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So, Kristen,
It's all about the orange man bad, huh? It's all about beating Trump. Not about the country. It's all about beating Trump, man. Sometimes when it comes down to this, you guys failed. You guys failed. Your last resort, which was the attempted assassination, didn't happen. So now you guys, you literally got. So the plan was basically to just take out Trump, right? Take out Trump, and that's it. And then Biden will be the presumptive nominee, even with his cognitive decline. But what happened? Didn't happen, huh? And now they don't know what to do.
Now have our moderator of Meet the Press joining us on the phone. We now have a real answer now to the question that we've had ever since this news broke that President Biden is withdrawing from this race. He is endorsing Kamala Harris to take the top of the ticket. What does the process look like from here? She obviously now would have to suggest or select, I should say, a running mate, Kristen, which is another process that'll have to unfold over the course of the next couple of weeks before the Democratic convention.
That's right. And it's our understanding that the vice president had actually started that process, Hallie. And this is not a surprise. Again, this moment is stunning when you take a step back and really think about what is unfolding. And yet, this is where we believed this was heading if and when President Biden did make that ultimate decision to drop out of the race. There was so much pressure on him from within the party to choose Kamala Harris, to endorse Kamala Harris as his vice president, because think about the backlash had he not done this. I think there's also an urgency to have an answer to the question, who will replace him at the top of the...
We're not even talking about they lied to us. A lot of people knew this for years ago. No accountability whatsoever. No accountability, folks. He just dropped out, and that's it. That's it.
And just a deep concern that if there were to be a so-called mini primary, that would ultimately expend a lot of time, a lot of resources that the party just does not think it has at this point. So
Biden looks so weak. Wow, look at that.
Overwhelmingly surprising that he is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. And again, she has started the process of looking for a potential running mate, undoubtedly looking at a number of governors all across this country. But again, just a really stunning moment that the President of the United States has now officially announced he's not seeking re-election and is passing the torch, as those protesters yesterday outside of the White House had urged him to do, to pass the torch. He has now done that, Hallie.
One of the questions, of course, Kristen, is does this put Democrats in a better position against former President Trump, in a relatively equal position as if it were President Biden on the ticket? When you look at some of the polling, there are some surveys, some numbers that suggest that the vice president polls slightly better than President Biden did against former President Trump. But there's some polling that suggests it's fairly even here. So there's a real question mark, of course, moving forward as to what this means politically for Democrats come November, Kristen.
There is a big question mark, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Look, she's competitive with him. And that's what I think President Biden wanted to see before he made that.
The delusion, competitive. They're delusion, folks. Wow. They're treating Biden, like Kamala, like she was not part of this administration. Like, it's insane. Like, she was part of the Biden administration. There's nothing else to just look around. She's Biden. She represents Biden's agenda. And she was very unpopular. Very unpopular. So I don't know what these people are talking about.
Official decision to pass the torch, as it were, to his vice president. He wanted to see that she's competitive, and the polls suggest she is very competitive. And look, I've been talking to Democrats who say this is a moment in which she can be reintroduced to the country, not just on the campaign trail, but also when you think about it, the convention. Hallie, think about the convention that you and I just covered in Milwaukee. All of that attention will now be foisted upon the vice president as she prepares to take the mantle of the Democratic nomination. So I think that that is an opportunity, and the Democratic Party believes that is a potential strength and could help them in the polls and with some of those undecided, moderate, independent voters who are going to be so critical in November. And by the way, the Trump campaign has already set its sights on the vice president. They've already started doing their own opposition research to lay out the case against her, Hallie.
Thanks for watching.
What a bunch of losers. So this is basically Joseph R. Biden, the 46th president of the United States, basically communicating to the American people. So it says, my fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. Okay, here we go. We have made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We have provided critical needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substance, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. This is politics, man. This is politics. I mean, the last sentence in itself is just so political correct that it's just horrendous. We are better positioned to lead than we are today. So we are basically, America has never been in a better position to lead than we are today. Well, a bunch of wars just going around, right? I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We have protected and preserved our democracy, and we have revitalized and strengthened our allies around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as a president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today, I always have, that there's nothing America cannot do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Imagine a Republican doing something like this. The bar of the Democratic Party is so low that they still think they can just basically replace Joe Biden with somebody else and expect to win. America, this is what the Democratic Party thinks about you. You're just a pawn. You're just a number. That's what they think. That's crazy, man. Today I have an interview with one guy from Spectrum News. I hope that they can release it, and I will just put it in my my YouTube channel if I can find the video. He went to me. He saw my hat, Make America Great Again hat, and he just ran to me. He just asked me a bunch of questions, and I said, "Bro, I'm just gonna release this to the news. Just watch at 5 o'clock Central Time in Spectrum News. You will see yourself there." And I say, "Okay, perfect, interesting." Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. See you in the next one.